Hey yo, it's Brian here. Today, gonna be talking about the San Francisco 49ers. As always, not doing a top 3 video this time, doing something completely different for you guys. Gonna be trying this new series out. If you guys enjoyed this, for this video, I'm gonna be doing this more often. Anyways, gonna be doing a thing called NFL tier list, which is a thing I'm pretty sure you guys know if you've been watching NFL videos or video games, movies in general. This is just a thing where they rank stuff from best to worst in a tier. So it could be the best team, middle team, worst team in this case, or whatever you want to call it. Gonna be doing that. I'm pretty sure you guys know what this is. Gonna be ranking the 49ers opponents for this season. This is not gonna be pertaining solely to the team versus the 49ers. This is just ranking them as a whole team for the whole season, and maybe taking into account the game against the 49ers, but other than that, this is them for the whole season. So for example, if I'm doing the Saints versus the 49ers, I'm not going to be just basing it on the Saints versus the 49ers. I'm going to be basing it on the Saints as a whole for the whole season, and probably including the 49ers as a little small factor in how I rank these opponents from best to worst, Super Bowl contenders all the way to probably a high draft pick in 2020. So yeah, gonna be talking about that. Should be a fun time. Hope you guys do enjoy this tier list thing. If you guys do, then I will probably do this more often. Want to give a quick shout out to Gipster for giving me the suggestion. Thank you very much. This seems like a great idea. So I was like, why don't I just do one for myself with the 49ers? Voila, there you go. I'm doing it for the 49ers. Anyways, going to get the video started in just a little bit. But before I do, please like and subscribe to support my channel. That would definitely help me out a lot. Click that bell notification to get notified of future videos. Share this channel. Share this video with fellow Niner faithfuls. Let's get this started. Ranking the 49ers opponents NFL tier list from Super Bowl contenders all the way until 2020 top draft pick. Okay, here's my tier listing right here. So I'm going to be doing it from top 2020 draft pick, probably the worst team in 2019, all the way ranking it to Super Bowl contenders. So there's 4 tiers right here. Right now, I'm going to be starting from the worst teams, in my opinion, for this upcoming season. And probably they're going to lose to the 49ers, in my opinion, for this 2019 campaign. First up, going to be going with the Arizona Cardinals. I probably won't be talking about them too much. I've said enough already in this NFC West video that I had a couple of weeks ago. So there you have it right there. Arizona, new team, new coach. Did we trust Kyler Murray? For me, not yet. The whole team in general, I just can't trust at all. Patrick Peterson's going to be suspended for 6 games. Just not the big fan of the Arizona Cardinals, although for some reason they always find a way to beat us twice in every season, but they've gotten lucky a couple of times since last year. Garoppolo didn't play at all. Even in 2017, Garoppolo wasn't even on the team yet. Hopefully, when healthy, our quarterback can defeat this team pretty easily, and I expect a beat down pretty much against this team twice for 2019, assuming that everything all goes well and there's no injury craziness happening for this year. Next up, Washington Redskins. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of the Redskins, to be honest with you. I don't really like what they're doing. They have a terrible owner, Dan Snyder. Jay Gruden, I'm not the biggest fan of anyways. Their roster, they have a lot of talent. If this was Alex Smith, the quarterback for the Redskins, then I'd probably put him higher on this tier. But right now, they have Dwayne Haskins. I'm assuming going to be starting for week 1. You can't put a lot of stock on a rookie quarterback unless he's going to be really sensational. But just for right now, I don't know if Haskins is going to be the top guy for the Redskins for this year. Maybe he's going to improve later on, but just for right now, I'm not really high on him and this team for the 2019 campaign. They made some moves in free agency, but they always make moves in free agency. For some reason, they never work out. I mean, you can just look at their history of free agency. It's been pretty terrible. But we'll see if Landon Collins can do something cool for the Redskins on defense. They have an all-right talent pieces, I guess you want to call it. They got Vernon Davis. I mean, you guys remember that guy. He was an amazing tight end for the 49ers for the most part in a couple of years with us, but now he's with the Redskins. Overall, I'm not the biggest fan of this team. They have pieces. They have collection of talent, but just as a team, I don't think they're going to do well. Also, Reuben Foster, he was supposed to play this season, but unfortunately, he tore his ACL and LCL or something like that. Something about the knee of the LCL. But ACL, ooh, man, he's out for the rest of the season. That's very unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is. So, you know, that is a terrible time to catch an injury. But anyways, Redskins, not the big fan of, and I think they're going to be in the bottom of the tier in terms of playing us and just any NFL as a whole. All right, for this list, this is going to be the mad list where I'm talking about teams that I believe will go about 7-9 or 8-8. Pretty plain, pretty basic, just an average team for the 2019 campaign. These are just predictions. First up, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Oh, got to talk about Bruce Arians, my man. Well, I guess my man or our man. I don't know what you want to say about him, but he's a great coach, as we all know. Anybody in San Francisco, if you're a fan watching this, you guys know how he was for us for the past couple of years. Before 2017, he did everything right in Arizona. He was leading that team to a division title. He was leading that team to just everything well for them. They almost made the Super Bowl, I guess, in 2015. They made it to the NFC Championship game with Carson Palmer as the quarterback. Bruce, I have to give him a lot of credit for what he's done with the Cardinals and turning that team around, and he's going to try to turn this team around for the Bucks. I mean, this could be an instant, swiftly good change, or this can just take a while because the Bucks aren't really that good, in my opinion. They got Jameis Winston as their quarterback. I don't know how to feel about him, to be honest with you. He has the talent. He looks like he has the arm to do everything, but just the outside stuff, like his work ethic, just the turnover machine that he is, I'm kind of questioning everything about him. Other than that, they lost a lot of players. They lost to Sean Jackson. He went back to the Philadelphia Eagles. Gerald McCoy, that was a pretty ignominious leave for him in the Bucks. He went to the Carolina Panthers, division rival. Pretty interesting right there. For me, Tampa, as much as I love BA, as much as I'm a fan of Todd Bowles, I don't know if they're going to be doing really well for their first season. I think they're going to be just an average team in my opinion. But even then, a mad team like that, turning the Bucks around from like a 4-12 or 5-11 to 7-8 wins, I think that's pretty respectable right there. For me, it's not a terrible meh, but it's just a meh overall, just because I think they're not going to be, you know, a playoff contending team for this year with Bruce Arians as their head coach, as much as I'm a fan of his. Next up, Cincinnati Bengals. I could have put him as a top draft pick for the 2020 season, 2020 draft. I'm going to be a nice guy. I think they have some nice pieces. They got Andy Dalton as their quarterback. As much as he's a playoff choker in the regular season, he can kind of show up. They got Joe Mixon as their running back. AJ Green, probably one of the best receivers in the NFL. Geno Atkins on the defensive side leading that team, although their defense overall is really not that good. From the past couple of years, they used to be an awesome defense, but for whatever reason, it just hasn't been working out. And they have a new head coach in Zach Taylor from the Sean McVay tree in LA Rams. I don't know how that's going to be working out, but we'll see what happens. They have a terrible owner, Mike Brown, as I said in my easy wins video. He's not the best owner in the NFL. He's probably one of the worst, along with Daniel Snyder. The difference is that Brown's probably even worse because he's the general manager of this team. You know, with Snyder, I think he gives everything to whoever the GM is right now. I think it's Bruce Allen. For Mike, he does everything himself as the general manager, and he's been pretty stubborn about that ever since taking ownership for this team. So yeah, I mean, just overall, I like their talent. I like what they have. Zach Taylor, I don't know what he's going to be offering for the Bengals as the head coach, but they do have a terrible ownership team, in my opinion, on that Cincinnati, Ohio weather, or whatever you want to call it. Next up, Green Bay Packers. You know, if Aaron Rodgers shows up big time, if he's like playing like an MVP caliber player that he was a couple of years ago when fully healthy, then I believe they could be in the cusp of a Super Bowl contendership. But just his team overall and his injury history, I had to put him in the mad list. They did get some nice players. They got Rashawn Gary from Michigan. He looks pretty good for that defense. Mike Penn is the defensive coordinator. I can't go against him. He's done a great job with defenses, starting with the New York Jets a couple of years ago with Rex Ryan. Did okay with Cleveland, I guess you want to call it, although the record wasn't really that good. But as a defensive coordinator, he's pretty good. Can't count him out. But Aaron Rodgers, he's the guy that makes and breaks the Packers season. If he's fantastic, if he's MVP, man, then they'll probably win about 10 games, to be honest with you. But I'm assuming that Aaron Rodgers, you know, he's going to get injured some way, shape, or form. I don't want to wish injury upon people, but that's been the trend for him for the past couple of years, although he played all 16 games last year in 2018. They just bank too much on the quarterback to do everything, and when it doesn't go well, when he gets hurt or something like that, or just having a bad game, then the whole season just goes in the tank as a team. I'm going to be assuming that's going to happen, and they're going to be on my meh list just because Rodgers either might get hurt, or he's not having the best game of his life, or just the team around him is just not that good. You know, that's just me right there for the math list. Next up, going to be talking about pretty good teams. These are teams I believe are playoff contenders, and they'll probably make the playoffs in 2019. This might be a little bit controversial, but going to be talking about it right now. Seattle Seahawks, probably won't be talking about them forever. I already talked about them so many times now. Pretty good team. You got Pete Carroll as their head coach. You can't go against them. Russell Wilson, he's a good quarterback. Defensively, they're led by Bobby Wagner. They did lose some targets, but they did get a lot of additions like DK Metcalf in the draft. I think that's going to help Wilson a lot, definitely. He's a raw talent, but when you have Wilson as your quarterback, he could probably make something happen. So, Seattle, I think they're a playoff contending team. A lot of you guys would disagree with me. The way they've been making the playoffs every year for shape-shifting reasons, I think it's possible that they can make the playoffs, and they probably will the way that they're looking. Next up, Baltimore Ravens. This is a probably controversial one for a lot of people if you're a 49er fan or just anybody in the NFL. You're wondering, oh my gosh, how can you have the Ravens on this playoff contending team? They lost a lot of players. They lost Terrell Suggs. They lost a lot of players on defense. Lamar Jackson is their quarterback. All he does is run. But hey, I think the Ravens overall, they're a pretty good team in my opinion. I think they're being underrated, to be honest with you. People are thinking that they're going to go like 6-10 or 7-9, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. But for me personally, I think John Harbaugh, he's a fantastic coach. You know, that's Jim's brother that used to coach for us a couple of years ago. John's a great coach for the Baltimore Ravens. He's been fantastic since 2008. So I believe, with Lamar Jackson being able to do more during the offseason, seeing how an NFL game feels, I think he's going to be a little bit better throwing the ball than he was in his rookie campaign. And I know that he knows that he won't be running the ball forever, because the way he's playing right now, he won't be playing that long in the NFL. So he's going to learn how to throw the ball just a little bit, and I think he will. He got a guy named Marquise Brown, or Hollywood Brown, from Oklahoma. He looks like a really speedy guy, and that's a guy that Lamar can go to, although he's not the best guy throwing the ball deep. But I think, with Brown and with his speed, his electricity is pretty good. He reminds me of Marquise Goodwin, definitely, from us, the 49ers. So Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, I think he improves definitely. Their defense is still pretty good. I can't go wrong against them. Cleveland Browns, the Ravens division rival, the Steelers division rival. This team, very polarizing team. A lot of people have them even going to the Super Bowl this year, which is crazy, or they have them doing really bad for this campaign. They're just overrated. They're just all talk and no substance. But I believe the Browns this year, I think everything can go well for the first time. They got a quarterback. They have a lot of talent within him. They have a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball. The only concern I have personally is Freddie Kitchens as their head coach. He's a first-timer head coach, and he hasn't been an offensive coordinator that long for the Cleveland Browns. I think he was just an offensive coordinator just for like half the season last year, and just an interim coach after that. For the most part, he doesn't have a lot of head coaching experience in the NFL. But, with him having a lot of talent, John Dorsey did a fantastic job this offseason getting a lot of players, and the way the roster is constructed with Baker Mayfield as the quarterback. Got Nick Chubb. Also, you got Odell Beckham Jr. from a trade. Defensively, you got Myles Garrett. I mean, what can you go wrong? Also, Greg Williams is their defensive coordinator. He's a pretty good defensive coach for the Browns. I believe they can do great things for the NFL this year, and I can't wait to see what they do for them. I'm probably rooting for them, just except the game against the Niners. But every other game, I'll probably root for them to win, because it's nice to see Cleveland win something, because they've been losing for a long, long time. I believe with all the talent that they have, what can go wrong for them? I think they're playoff contenders. Next up, Carolina Panthers. Cam Newton. What to talk about my hometown team right here. The Panthers, for the most part, they were pretty good last year. If I'm looking at 2018, I think they were 6-2, but then they had that humiliating loss against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday night, then fell off a cliff, lost like 6 or 7 in a row before winning their last game against the Saints, even though the Saints weren't even playing Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara. Really, they would have lost a lot of games in a row, but they ended up, I think, 7-9. Pretty terrible campaign, if I do say so myself. One of the worst collapses in NFL history for teams doing really well. So the Panthers this year, I think they have a lot of talent as well. You got Cam Newton. It's kind of questionable what's going to be happening with him. Is he going to be completely healthy from his shoulder surgery or whatever you want to call it? So that's a big question mark. But around him, you got Christian McCaffrey. You got that new guy. I forgot his name. The receiver guy, DJ Moore. There you go. DJ Moore. Greg Olsen, he's a pretty good tight end, although he's coming near the end of his career, but I still believe he has another good year or two left in him. Defensively, they drafted Brian Burns. They got Luke Kuechly. They have a lot of talent, as I keep mentioning with all these teams. That's a pretty big thing to have for an NFL team, is talent. And the Panthers, they have a ton of it. They have their leader on offense, leader on defense. Rod Rivera's a great coach. What can go wrong for the Panthers? Also, Norv Turner's their offensive coordinator for the Panthers. I think Cam was doing really well for the most part until he got hurt with his shoulder. He started acting really weird. So this is a different team, I would say, for the Carolina Panthers. I think they can do well. I root for them sometimes. I'm not the biggest Panther fan, although I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. We play them week 8. That should be interesting. I think we can win that game, possibly, depending on what Cam and his status is as a whole season. They're thinking about sitting him out for the whole season, but I don't think they should be doing that. I think they should let him keep him playing. I'm pretty sure Newton does not want to sit out, because he got Will Grier as the quarterback behind him, getting drafted by them in West Virginia in the 3rd round. So I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to lose his job to him. Panthers, talent they have, the way that they were playing last year, if they can just keep that up, that 6-2 part, then they can be playoff contenders and potentially Super Bowl contenders. Next up, Atlanta Falcons. I don't know, a lot of teams, I think this is the most overrated team in my opinion, but they do have a lot of good stuff going on for them. They have Dan Quinn as their head coach. He was the defensive coordinator for the Seahawks when they won the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan, he's a great quarterback sometimes, a lot of the times actually, but sometimes he can choke big time. Got to keep it like that. They did lose Tevin Coleman to us, the 49ers. They do got Devontae Freeman coming back from an injury. We'll see what happens then. I think we picked up the right guy in Coleman. Freeman, if he can come back from his injury, then he'll be fantastic. You got Julio Jones. He's an awesome guy to have as a receiver. Defensively, they're kind of okay in my opinion. Falcons, just banking on Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. Dan Quinn being the head coach, and I'm pretty sure he can make adjustments for this season. I think last year they missed the playoffs. Steve Sarkisian is not there anymore. Thank God he's not there, because he was terrible as an offensive coordinator, taking over for Kyle Shanahan, I think a year or two ago. So we'll see what happens. But the Falcons, I believe they could be playoff contenders. We'll see what happens. But yeah, last and least, going to be talking about the best teams in the NFL. So these are teams that are Super Bowl contenders. They're going to do really well in 2019. The teams are going to be the LA Rams, New Orleans Saints, Pittsburgh Steelers. I probably won't talk too much in this segment because I have a video talking about the 3 hardest games, in my opinion, for this year, and I mentioned all the 3 of these teams. The Rams, division rivals. Saints, they got Drew Brees, although he was declining a little bit last year. I think he's still a great quarterback. Just with the full offseason, he'll probably be healthy again. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they're a pretty wild team, in my opinion. They can do really good or really bad, but I believe the Steelers, for the most part, with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell being gone, they're going to be a fantastic team, in my opinion. They won't have all the distractions that happened last year, and they can just focus completely on football. Ben's going to be more, quote-unquote, matured for this season. Mike Tomlin, he's a great coach. There can be nothing wrong with all 3 of these teams. Talked about them already. They're all Super Bowl contenders, in my opinion, these 3, and we'll see what happens. I hope we can beat all these teams for this year in 2019. Last thing I'm going to be talking about is the 49ers. Where do I rank them personally for this whole tier listing, whatever you want to call it? For me personally, I would probably put the 49ers in between the meh and the pretty good section. I can't put them as Super Bowl contenders yet, although it was kind of funny. I made a video talking about why they're Super Bowl contenders, but just in reality, I think they're a verge of a playoff team. I think they can make the playoffs this year, but they cannot make the playoffs this year. They can actually be one of the worst teams in the NFL, but I believe that they will go at least 9-7 or 10-6. I think that's a pretty good expectations right there. So, you know, these opponents, they're pretty good in my opinion. More than half of them are on the pretty good list. This is a pretty tough schedule, but we'll see what happens. But the 49ers, I have them between the meh and the pretty good section, but more in the pretty good section, playoff contenders for this list. That's pretty much it, you guys. Sorry this video was kind of long. I wasn't expecting this video to be long. Going to be making it more of a podcast style video. I don't know if I'll have any captions for this video. If I do, then there you have it. But if I don't, then hopefully you guys do. Still stay tuned. Please let me know your tier listing list for the 49ers and the whole NFL league for our opponents this year in 2019. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. As always, if you guys like this, please like and subscribe to support my channel. That would definitely help me a lot. I'll be catching you guys up tomorrow on a Wednesday for a conventional top 3 video. I'll see y'all then. Bye, guys. Love y'all. Y'all have a good rest of your day. Go Niners all day.